So I've been a happy camper client of Dan White's for many, many, many years. He's been on this program many, many times. I appreciate the fact that so many of you listen to Dan, and you've quoted things that he has said back to me and also Dan when he's out and about and people meet him. He's on the phone right now with a great tip following the 1:30 news, as we always do. Merry Christmas, Dan.
Merry Christmas to you, Rick.
Wow. So I'm guessing this good news about the GDP at 4.3%. Man, I was watching the CNBC report on this, Bloomberg reporting on this, and it was amazing. Let's say Bank of America also saying that this is incredible, great growth for the country over this past year. And I'm wondering, historically, when things like this happen, I know we're not scheduled to talk about this, and I'm throwing you off completely. Too bad. But when you have extraordinary news like this, does it ever have any the positive effect on interest rates, for example? Like, I know the Fed's cutting the rates, but now you're looking at dividends for retirees as well as interest on money markets and insured products. Does anything like this historically have a positive effect on that sort of investments?
Well, all these things kind of fit together. You know, the Fed looks at, they're always data reliant, so they're always looking at what's happening with the economy. And the reason they went full forward with the rate cut just about a week ago was because of the unemployment report. So unemployment's going up. This may throw a wrench into maybe their cutting plans for January because now they're saying, hey, the economy's doing great. GDP's doing fine. So what are we cutting rates for? It's between GDP, the unemployment rate, the inflation rate. They try to walk that fine line where we're neither too hot nor too cold. And that's the magic wand that keeps everything held together. Now, they've never really done it successfully. I don't think we ought to start thinking they're going to do it now, but
yeah.
But you never know.
Well, the other point is when President Trump gave that speech a week ago or so, he was talking about, oh, my gosh, wages are incredibly high compared to inflation. And I went and looked at the numbers and said, I don't think 0.5% to 1%, depending upon the wage category, is extremely high, but it's wonderful that wages are indeed in excess of inflation. So it's taken really, like 11 months to get to this point now, and I'm hopeful for the next year if this thing continues.
Yeah, we'd like to see it continue. I mean, a lot of people are saying, hey, second year, I just did a blog, second year of the presidential cycle is usually a bad year. If you're looking at trends, but who knows? I mean, they are what they are, and the economy is going to do what it's going to do. I mean, I think we're in a decent position. I don't think we're not telling everybody to sell all their stocks. We're not telling them to, I mean, it could continue. It's been 3 good years in a row, and let's hope the good times continue to roll.
Well, a lot of people don't feel it, though, because, food prices are still high from the inflationary period of 2021 to 2024, and I don't think any one presidency can overcome this in just one term, but the growth is extraordinary, and I wonder in the second term, or the second year, rather, of this first term, if there's a lot of difference when it comes to the way the Trump administration is approaching this with tariffs and very serious cuts. I mean, the investigations where they're finding, billions of dollars of fraud and waste in a number of different social programs, like Social Security, for example, and Medicaid. That's extraordinary. That brings back more money to the Treasury as well. So I don't know what's going to happen, but all I can tell you is when they find like $600 billion and they reduce the deficit by that much, that's extraordinary, I think.
Yeah, it is. And it goes back to, it depends on an individual situation. I mean, I talked, I think about a month ago about the K-shaped economy. So if you own stocks or you have money in the market or you own a home, the economy's great. Your house is appreciating, your 401ks are going up. But if you're, 32 years old and got $80,000 in student loans and credit cards out the wazoo, then you're like, hey, I think the economy's terrible, So it really depends on where you're at in your life at this point.
It's a good point, and really what you're talking about is policy, long-lasting policies that are good or bad. So I'm guessing you were calling in about something else, though, because I know I kind of took the reins of the conversation as something was on my mind based upon the news. So here, let me relinquish the reins to the person who's supposed to be guiding this sleigh. Go right ahead.
Well, we're December 23rd here, and if you're thinking about doing a qualified charitable distribution this year, time's running out. You got 8 days. The deadline is December the 31st, and most people miss out. We've done quite a few here in the month of December. It's kind of interesting, but 5 things you need to know about 2025 QCDs. The QCD, the qualified charitable distribution, must be done as a direct transfer from your IRA to the charity of your choice. If the distribution is paid to you, you cannot give those funds to the charity and call it a QCD. But a check made payable to the charity that is mailed to you and delivered by you to the charity will work as a QCD. The amount transferred from the IRA to your charity as a QCD counts toward your required minimum distribution. So you can use the QCD to satisfy your RMD, and that will reduce your adjusted gross income. So that's the biggie. I mean, if you take the RMD, you're going to pay tax on it. It's going to be income. If you transfer it to a charity, and a lot of people can't even get the deduction for the charity anymore because they itemize, this is a way around that. The per year limit is $108,000 a person, and if you're married and you and your spouse both qualify, you can do QCDs totaling $108 annually. A tax deduction for the charitable contribution cannot also be taken, but you can still do a QCD of up to $108 even if your RMD is less than that. The other thing that's a kind of a weird thing, you can do a QCD if you have an IRA and you're over 70 and a half. 70 and a half doesn't have a lot of meaning anymore except for these QCDs. The Secure Act and the Secure 2.0 Act have raised the age for RMDs to 73, but the age for QCDs remains at 70 and a half for some reason. Now, you can do a QCD from an IRA, a Roth IRA, an inactive SEP, or a simple IRA, but you can't do one from an employer plan. They can only come from your IRAs. And then the last thing you got to be aware of, you can't receive anything in return for the donation to the charity. No tote bags, no mugs, no free tickets to the Sixers game. You can't get anything. It's got to be a full charitable act. So,
gotcha.
And you got 8 days. You got 8 days to get them in. So we literally had a guy this week, and he told us how much he wanted to give his church, and then he gave like 8 other charities money, and we got it all out of his IRA for this year, so he could claim that as his RMD.
Yeah, is that the one of the ways that you give to your own charity, granting others' dreams?
I'm not 70 and a half yet, Rick, so I can't do it.
It's a joke. It's a joke.
I'm getting closer. I'm going to be able to do it in a couple of years, but we're not there yet.
I thought I'd give you a poke in the back there. Very good.
Yeah.
All right. By the way, folks, Dan's brilliant with this and has helped thousands of folks. You can give him a call at 888-690-8820, 888-690-8820. DanWhiteandAssociates.com. Also hosting On the Money Sunday mornings at 7 on 101.7 FM, 1150 AM. Of course, it streams to your smartphone, whatever device you like to use. What's on the show this Sunday at 7?
Yeah, I was just sitting there doing these shows. This week is called What's Your Number? You know, everybody thinks retirement, you have to save, $1 million, or you got to save this. So what the program is really all about is the number is different for everybody. It depends on what your retirement wants to look like, but it talks about how you would arrive at what you need to save to get to that retirement number. What's your number? So that's what the program's all about this coming Sunday.
All right, Dan White and Associates. Merry Christmas, my friend.
You too, Rick. I hope you and your lovely wife have a fantastic holiday.
We're going to. A lot of time with family, just like you. Take care.
Sounds great.